Bradley Barth with SC Media. I'm here at Walmart headquarters with Melissa Yandell, Senior Director of Security Engineering. I see here in headquarters and at the Walmart Museum, they have Sam Walton's 10 rules of building a better business. So I'm going to ask you some questions that are kind of built around some of these rules. So Rule 8 is exceed customer expectations, and Rule 5 is appreciate what your associates do for the business. Now, as somebody who particularly handles identity and access management for both workforce and customers, you have to put yourself in their shoes to some extent and understand the various processes that they have to go through to access what they need to do their job. So one of the big things you always hear about IM is balance and making sure that it's a good user experience for the customer or for the associate, but at the same time making sure that you have the adequate levels of security. So how do you find that balance in the way that you innovate IM at Walmart?
You're right. It is a very tough balance to be able to achieve. So some of the ways that we do it is we will kind of test out or pilot out different ways that we're approaching things, whether it be an interface, etc. And actually, in cases, I've gone to the stores and worked with, we call them customers, it's our associates in the stores, and we will sit down and walk through with them a day in their life and kind of understand how they're using the applications or how they're using that sign-on experience and get feedback, and then come back and evaluate how we further improve that experience based on that feedback that they have. And getting an example of seeing actually what it looks like working in their hands. A lot of times in the past we would call that eating your own cooking, where you really had to go through and have that experience, because what sometimes you may be imagining works when you're developing while you're sitting at your desk is in no way how the end user may wind up using it in their day-to-day.
And I am sticking on that subject. We know it's a core component of the concept of zero trust, and I'm wondering to what extent Walmart is on the zero trust bandwagon. How big of a believer is it in the concept of ZTA? I know at the media event today, the concept of least privilege was brought up, and that's obviously a component of zero trust. So I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so absolutely, the least privilege concept and the continuous authentication, also along with that, in the name itself of zero trust, is making no assumptions, right, about the trust that's already there, but always continuously reevaluating that. So Walmart is on evaluating the zero trust principles and architectures to see how it could potentially benefit what we provide, not only to our end users, but to our overall security posture. So we're within efforts now, kind of evaluating that, looking at what the potential architecture would be and what would the steps that we would need to be able to take to move forward.
And another one of Sam Walton's rules, Rule 10, is swim upstream. So defy convention, or just go the extra mile and innovate. And so I'm curious what some of the IM concepts are that you're innovating with currently, whether it's things like different passwordless options or hardware tokens or biometrics or real-time dynamic authentication. What are some of the interesting areas in the identity management space that you're currently working on?
So several of the items you mentioned we're taking a look at. You mentioned the passwordless. That is one that we are currently working through potential POCs now, and looking at that from those two factors that you had mentioned around the end user experience, which I think we all kind of feel like the passwordless would be much more of a better user experience, but also the enhanced security posture that can bring if implemented correctly. So passwordless is definitely one that's kind of high on our radar and that we've been looking at and have some POCs in the works.
There was also a recent project around the concept of single sign-on. Could you maybe remind me a little bit about the work you've done in that area and the related area of federated identity management?
So our philosophy is certainly we want our applications utilizing our single sign-on, our federated identity, to make sure that we have that centralized management of the identity and of the access. So it's core, again, to those two principles of, one, the user experience is much better, right? A single sign-on, and then they can go through the applications that they want through the day without continuously having to log on. And then that centralized secure management helps us make sure that we're providing a more secure environment, and those credentials are maintained through our identity lifecycle and also fully protected with all our controls.